Welcome to the Hassan Saad Show. It's your host, Hassan Saad. And today's podcast is a solo podcast. It's just me and you for today. First of all, I want to thank everybody who has been following and been engaged with my posts and with my Instagram and my YouTube and the channel itself. It's been growing, so I thank you for that. Thank you guys very much. And as well, Mochi is trying to thank you as well. You've met my cats already at this point. So again, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate all the follows. I appreciate the engagement. And you know what? This is also an open invite for anybody who wants to join the channel, the show, the platform, and have something to say. You're more than welcome. And today's podcast, honestly, first thing I want to say, guys, be careful. If you're in the United Arab Emirates, especially in Abu Dhabi, if you're moving from apartment to apartment, be very careful with who you choose because we just had a very terrible experience with moving. It was crazy. They rushed us. We felt very rushed, and they left us with all these boxes. They unpacked a few things, but a lot of the other things were left just like that. And now we're suffering. Isn't that right? What are you doing? All right, so be very careful. Honestly, we cheaped out. It was my first time moving out, and I kind of cheaped out with moving, and that was the worst mistake I've made, honestly. This whole process. Do not cheap out. Okay, pay a little bit more money. Honestly, with anything, you pay a little bit more money, you buy your comfort, and of course, if you can, this is coming from a place of privilege, but if you are able to spend a little bit more or a little extra and buy your comfort, do so. Stick with the big names because, as my mom always says, cheap is always expensive. All right. And that's the price we had to pay today. Again, guys, this podcast, we're going to talk a lot about the questions you left me. So I appreciate you guys for leaving me those questions. If you have any other questions, leave them on the comments below, and I can always respond to them as well on a later time. The next guest coming on is actually a very special guest. The first guest I have that I don't really know, and it's someone who's completely I'm going to meet for the first time, and we're going to talk about sports, fitness, all for women. She is a fitness instructor, a fitness guru, and she talks a lot about women empowerment and about women and the fitness industry. So stay tuned for the next episode. On this episode, let's take the first question that I have here. What are some things that you learned in China? That's a really good question. I learned a lot of things in China. My wife and I were in China for about 2 years, from 2018 to 2020. It was a crazy, crazy experience. I lived in Wuhan, China. Both my wife and I lived in Wuhan, China, when and before it was famous for what it's famous for. Isn't that crazy? It gets a few jaw drops usually when I say it. But yeah, we lived in China. It was an amazing experience. And what I learned in China, I learned a lot of things in China, but really, honestly, the language is one of them. So, 我会说一点中文，可是我说的不好, right? So that's what everybody learns. Or the first thing everybody learns is, I speak a little bit of Chinese, but I don't speak it well. But honestly, that was something that I'm proud of. My wife and I did manage to learn a little bit of Chinese, but of course, moving back to the UAE, you kind of lose the sense of fluency, I guess, because you don't practice it, so you start losing it bit by bit. But funny enough, actually, my wife and I sometimes, till today, speak in Chinese together, to each other, but a few sentences here and there, which is kind of funny. So that's the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned in China, honestly, is to be very dependent on, or to be resourceful. That's the one. To be very resourceful with the things around you, because obviously in China, it's very difficult to move around, especially as a tourist, or not a tourist, especially as an expat living there. I wasn't a tourist, I was living there. And especially as an expat who doesn't speak Chinese, for the first year was very difficult, especially, when for a few months where you don't know any Chinese at all, and you're trying to order food from the restaurant, you're trying to go to the bank and finish up your paperwork and opening an account, and going around in the taxi or transportation and trying to find your way. Very difficult in the beginning, but you learn how to be resourceful and use the tools around you to be able to manage that. So things like Microsoft translators, things like picking up a few words here and there, things like applications that will help you. You download all these, and sometimes you download an app and you're like, wow, and it helps you, and you're amazed by it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So you start to find other apps and things like that. I guess learning how to be very resourceful. And the third thing I want to say, it made us see our privilege being in a country where you speak the language, and you really tend to see and really understand those who come to other places and don't speak the language and are trying to survive. So, for example, we're in the UAE currently right now. I speak both Arabic and English. That's a privilege. Some people come to the UAE without speaking Arabic or English, and they're trying to survive. It made us feel for them, because you start to see these people and say, wow, I was kind of in that position where I was trying to survive, make my money, make my living, and really get accustomed to the culture, the people, the way things are done. Now imagine putting yourself in that position and or putting yourself in the place of the people who are coming here to make a living but don't speak the language. So it is tough. It is very, very tough. But those are the three things. So to summarize, 3 things I learned in China was the language, and then being resourceful. And the third thing was empathy for those who are coming in to other countries, trying to make a living and unable to understand the culture, or unable to integrate in the beginning with the language and the culture. So the next question is, how did focusing on your goals change your perspective of life or in life? Well, that's a good question. Goal setting is super important. It's crucial for your growth. If you don't have goals, you're walking aimlessly through life or through your day. Imagine not having a goal, right? Imagine not having a goal for the day. You're walking through the day with no objective. You are just autopilot, right? You're not really thinking about much. Imagine going through a month with no goals. Day by day is passing and you're just not doing much because you have no goal. There's no measuring. You don't know if you're productive or not. Now imagine a whole year. Imagine a whole lifetime without putting a goal. And the best way to put a goal is through the smarter technique. Make sure your goal is specific. That's the S. Make sure it's measurable. Make sure it's attainable. You can actually, it's not something far-fetched and you can actually accomplish it. Make sure it is relevant to you. So maybe you're moving to, let's say, I don't know, you're moving to France. You're not going to go learn Chinese, Mandarin, right? You're going to go learn French. So it's relevant to you. And then make sure there's a time bound to it. Make sure you have a limit. Okay, by November 2023, I want to have done 1, 2, and 3, right? Make sure there's a time limit to it or a deadline. Now, the EMDR, make sure you're able to evaluate the goal, let's say 6 months down the line, and you evaluate yourself and then revise whether or not you're on the path or not on the path. How can you get back on the path? Or if you're good, you can continue. And so revise. And that's the smarter technique. How has that changed my life? Honestly, once I started putting goals in my life, especially with the podcast, things started to be structured. Now, I'm not telling you I'm the perfect person. Trust me, far from it. But once I started to utilize the smarter technique with my podcast has seen growth and has been structured. Okay. Now, sometimes you'll fall off the boat here and there, but that doesn't mean that's it. You quit. Resiliency is key. What is resiliency? Resiliency is you as a person, you are able to pick yourself back up, and you're able to continue on the path that you maybe have dropped from. That's normal. Everybody has lows. But what defines character is when you are in those lows, how are you going to go back up to your highs, right? What are highs without lows? What are lows without highs? So it all works hand in hand. Again, that was a little bit of a tangent or a divergent, but bringing it back. So you might put your goal, you might be, you're happy or you're doing good, and sometimes you'll fall off, but pick yourself back up, be resilient with it. Goals will help you structure your life. Now, as for me, my goals are my podcast, and I have work goals. Of course, there's professional goals, there's personal goals. So my personal goals, I might need to revamp a little bit. Professional goals are there. That's why my work is structured. Maybe my personal life is my podcast currently, but there are other goals I need to focus on. But to to bring it back a little bit as well, make sure your goals are smarter, and make sure when you fall off, you pick yourself back up, be resilient, because that defines your character. That's a really good question. Let's see what else we have. Did boxing change your life and why? So, boxing, yes, has definitely helped me grow in my confidence and in myself, in my image. It's made me realize that I'm a strong person. I know how to fight. I know how to defend myself. And it gives me a boost of spirit, especially in hard times. So when I'm going through work and I'm going through a hard time at work, nothing is harder than being punched in the face a few times. And you realize how everything else is okay once you get punched in the face a few times. I'm serious. I am serious. I am serious. Go get punched in the face. Don't get punched in the face. I'm just joking. Get punched in the face in a controlled environment. So, for example, go boxing. All right, you're gonna have the time of your life. I'm serious. Go boxing and just spar. You'll realize once you're done sparring, nothing really matters. Nothing. There's no hardship. You get punched. You punch sometimes. You're gonna get punched sometimes, and you feel the value of that. So, boxing has changed my life because I've got punched in the face, and I've punched in the face. I've punched people in the face, and that has helped me realize that nothing is really that difficult. Nothing really hurts as much as getting punched in the nose or on the chin. And you got to put your hands up, right? In everything you do, put your hands up, be resilient, and go in headstrong. And it gave me the confidence in myself and my image, and it boosted my morale. Honestly, boxing has changed my life. And shout out to Coach Ayub. Coach Ayub you can see the episode, one of the episodes with Coach Ayub. I'm not sure which one it was because I stopped using the numbers. But Coach Ayub Tyson has changed my perspective in boxing, has taught me a lot in boxing. I started with Coach Muhammad Ayub and continued, honestly, till today. So shout out to Coach Muhammad Ayub. All right. What else do we have? This one was someone trying to get me in trouble for some reason, but let's go through it. So, being a feminist. So that question came in. I guess that question was, what's it like being a feminist? I'm not sure, man, honestly. But I guess nobody can tell you what feminist is or what a feminist is unless if you're not a woman. But I can define it. I guess how I defined it was, we're all born equal, right? We're all born equal. Some of us are, well, a lot of us have differences, men, women, genders. We all have differences. Doesn't matter what gender you're in or where you're from. I'm just reading the response. I responded, and I said, how we collaborate makes us either strong or weak. And if you have a mother, a sister, a daughter, and you want the best version of them, then I guess you're a feminist. But I'm not the best person to speak about that. This is an invite to anybody who wants to come and talk about feminism, gender equality, and come on board and let's have a chat. Let's have a talk and help me understand what feminist is or feminism is. So, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? Honestly, me personally, what's the first thing I do when I wake up? I thank God. Honestly, I guess I reflect or I envision what I'm going to do today. So I sit down and I kind of say, okay, what is it that I'm going to do for the rest of the day or for the day that's upcoming? And I just think about that a little bit. Then I have the bad habit of picking up my phone and checking my socials, which is a very bad habit that I need to stop bit by bit, right? That's a good one. Sorry, that's very underwhelming. I don't know if you were expecting me to say, I wake up, the first thing I do is I do 5-10 jumping jacks. Yeah, buddy, not me. So what keeps me motivated on a daily basis? What keeps me motivated on a daily basis? Honestly, for now, my unborn son, not gonna lie, my wife, the family that we are potentially going to have, inshallah. And that makes me wake up in the morning and say, you know what, let's get it, let's do it. And I am on a fitness challenge, so I'm trying to start this. I haven't started it yet, but I'm trying to start a 30-day challenge. I've been doing well with food, but I've been trying to stay healthy for my child that is upcoming, of course. I do not want to be a lazy dad. I do not want to be a lazy dad. Imagine being a lazy dad. No, thank you. Right? No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Just because I want to be able to run with my child. I want to be able to play sports with my child. I want to be able to pick up my child and do all these amazing activities with my child. I want to be able to kayak with my child. I used to kayak all the time, and then recently I was on a kayak and it was just painful. I don't know because if I'm hitting my 30s or because I've just gained a lot of weight or maybe both, right? But I don't want that for my child. I don't want my child to see me in that light. And I want to be healthy and live longer. Of course, everything is in God's hand. But again, try to live longer and not die early based on my health. That's, I guess, what motivates me every day. But yes, guys, this is today's podcast. I invite anybody who wants to come and join me on the podcast. This is an invite to you to come and talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's been hectic, honestly, just because I haven't planned anything for this week, just because I was traveling. I was in Egypt, and then I couldn't shoot a podcast there, unfortunately. And then I had to come here, and then it was Eid and Ramadan, and then it was very hectic, but now I'm back. So stay tuned for the next week episode as well. But let's talk about Egypt, man. That was a really good experience. We had spent a lot of quality time with the family. It was nice. It was relaxing, I think. Based on the book Peak Performance, guys, those who are working themselves to the bone will burn out eventually. You guys need to take a break. Take a break. Take a break because that's what Olympians do. People in the Olympics train super hard for about 5 days or even 6 days, but there's always that one day where they don't do anything. And some of them, based on the book Peak Performance, they go on hard days and easy days, or like hard days or soft days. You can't just go hard every day. You're going to burn out. So take a break when you need it, and that's what I did. I took a week off and just skedaddled to Egypt, spent some time with the family, and we had fun. And I recharged my batteries, and I'm back at it as strong as ever. So don't think that working 24/7 or doing something 24/7 or pushing 24/7 is the right way and that's it. Of course, it's that warrior mentality, the David Goggins mentality. That's amazing, but make sure you take your rest days. Make sure you take a break so you don't break, so you don't burn out, and so you don't, counterproductive, and you're stumbling back down and snowballing back in the opposite direction. Take your break, enjoy your time. As much as there's hard days, make sure you have soft days, which is super important. And let's let me know if you have any questions, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you, and get out of here.
Thank you for watching the Hassan Saad Show. If you want to support this channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so whenever I upload, you'll get notified.